What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Courtside Soundoff podcast. Once again, I'm Josh Evanoff. As always, welcome by the one and only man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, future Jiu-Jitsu world champion, Angel Ortega. A lot of stuff to talk about this week. We got UFC Charlotte. We got some boxing stuff to go over. We got a lot of news, as well as we got to recap UFC 288. Before we get into all of that and more, as always, you're brought to you by Rogue Energy and ELYXR. RogueEnergy.com. Use code SOUNDOFF at checkout for 10% off all of your energy needs. They keep me fueled up. They keep me going throughout my day. I've been hitting the gym lately. You know, guys, it's summer. We gotta get back into shape. And you know what's helping me get back into shape? Is Rogue Energy with their amazing products. Keep me fueled up. Keep me going to the gym. You know, I've been hitting the boxing lessons, you know, I've been hitting the bag, you know, so I need that stuff. But then, Angel, whenever I'm trying to wind down, you know what I also use? I use ELYXR. Because I need that Delta 8, you know? And you can also get that for code SOUNDOFF, 10% off. Delta 8 products, Delta 9, HHC, they got it all. Gels, joints, you know, they got it. So you can also have it for code SOUNDOFF for 10% off. Look, man, big weekend for combat. One of the most packed schedules we've honestly had in a minute. But the biggest fight card, UFC 288 going down to Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. In the main event, we knew kind of going into this one, it's going to be 50-50. You and I both kind of said that on the show last week. I was personally waffling back and forth on who I should pick, and in the end, it ends up being the Funk Master, Aljamain Sterling, and still his third title defense ends up winning by split decision. Was a close fight. I know that some people thought that Cejudo deserved the nod. Ultimately, it does come down to a couple of swing rounds, which ended up deciding the fight. I know, Angel, we talked about this a bit in the green room. I know that I disagree with you, but how'd you score the fight?
Josh, I had it 3-2 Henry Cejudo. Not, you know, at least I'm not alone in that. I saw that the media had it a lot for, pretty much all the media on, MMA Decisions had it for Aljamain. But you know, a few fighters came out and said they also had it for Cejudo, so I felt nice to not be alone. It was a close fight. Like I told you in private, a little bittersweet for me because, look, in the end, I had no issue with the result. I was like, look, it's a close fight. I completely get it. But, only one judge scored the fifth round, which was probably, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, the closest, or the easiest, round to score the fifth round for Aljamain and not Henry Cejudo.
Mm-hmm.
But again, man, I think if you're a honest person, and you look at the fight, you analyze it, you see the result perfectly fine for Aljamain. I will say is, these guys, had a really close fight, which is good, competitive. For me, this is just, it's made it clear for me that I've always had this belief, and I still have it now. I really don't think Aljamain's that much better than everybody else at 135.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think Aljamain's a good fighter. I think he's very good. I just don't think there's this massive gap between him and the rest of the division. And I think that's why I picked against him a lot. But look, he's gotten it done again. Obviously, no hate there. I was kind of telling you in private, I felt like, this fight was, in a way, kind of a lose-lose for Aljamain, because, if he lost the fight, he was going to get clowned on for, you lost a guy who's been off for 3 years, he's a smaller guy, 125 or yada yada, this and that. And if he won the fight, there was still going to be some sort of like, well, he had been off 3 years and he was going up a weight class. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, with how scoring went and one of the judges and Henry being 1 round short on a scorecard to win the fight, you know, more to another thing onto it. Aljamain's whole career, like title reign and this portion of his life has been like, it's been completely out of his control, for one, you know, the Petr Yan knee, the TJ Dillashaw injury fight, and then now, and I'd say this is the one fight where he had, there was no kind of caveat, there was nothing that could really prevent, anything from him being credited, but there was still going to be some sort of, you know, extras. And for Henry, man, it was nice to see him come back after 3 years. I thought he looked for being off for that long, he looked pretty damn good. You know, I think we all got to say that. You got to give credit where credit is due. It kind of makes you wonder though. Damn, he really did waste 3 years. I know what could have been in those 3 years. What kind of fun fights could we have had, and fun matches. And what could have the result been different if Henry would have been active? Who knows? It's impossible to make those kind of assumptions. One thing I will say is these guys I felt like there was no major mistakes made during the fight. And even if there was things that could have been turned into mistakes, they weren't taken advantage of or they didn't play a factor. Like, Aljo shot a lot in the open and it didn't end up biting him in the ass ever. And I gotta give Aljo a lot of credit. He was very mobile, very active, a lot of lateral movement, a lot of running down the clock. Which, I mean, hey man, you gotta fight your fight intelligently and win the fight, and that's what it's all about. Once you're champ, it's about holding it and retaining it, because you've already made it. So obviously, no judgment on how you decide to fight, because his game plan obviously worked and he executed it very well. For Henry, man, I was a little sad. I felt like I wish I would have seen more of what he did in that 5th round earlier. Granted, though, that could have just played into the fact that it was the 5th round. Henry knew that he had to maybe come forward. Even though his corner the whole time, I believe was telling him he was up, which was definitely not a secured thing at all. But yeah, I guess going forward, Josh, what's next for both these guys?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so for both these guys, and I didn't get to say it real quickly, but I think I should say, full disclosure, scored the fight for Aljamain. I thought it was a close but clear fight. I thought Aljo won round 1. I gave him round, I believe, 3, and then also 4. It's been a couple of days, so I don't remember off the top of my head, but I remember thinking, all right, Aljamain clearly win. But I agree with a lot of what you said. I thought this fight was interesting because it showed us kind of the differences, which a lot of fans don't really appreciate, between the type of wrestling in MMA. Like, a lot of people just think wrestling, if this guy was good in wrestling and amateur wrestling, he's just going to dominate in MMA. Well, that's not entirely the case. There's different types of wrestling. Aljamain does a lot of his, like Cejudo and Sterling, they do different types of wrestling. Some, up against the fence versus out in the open. You know what I mean? Like, there were different elements that were shown in the fight, which I found more interesting. As far as what is next, Aljamain Sterling is going to be facing Sean O'Malley next. And that's what I wanted to see. I'm glad that he got in there. I thought that he should have had the next title shot. I thought it was kind of, as much as I like Henry Cejudo, I thought it was kind of bullshit, the thing they did to Sean back in October, whenever they said, okay, if you beat Pewter, title shot next. And they went, nope, never mind. So, I mean, in the end, he's still getting the title shot. He had to wait a couple of extra months. But look, man, I think that's a very interesting stylistic matchup. What do you think about that being next? And for Cejudo, he's in a weird spot, right? I know, obviously, he wanted to win this fight and then challenge Volkanovski. He wants to make history. He said he's still not sure what he wants to do. For me, I'm spitballing ideas, Angel. What do you think about Henry Cejudo versus Max Holloway next?
God. I mean, I'd watch it. I don't know if it's the best decision going forward. I do, as of this morning, I believe, Josh, or it might have been yesterday, he did call out Merab Dvalishvili for the Boston card.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that.
Mm-hmm.
That was a fight that definitely interested me, because if he still wants to stick around at 135 and get another shot at that, I mean, who else than the guy who wants to fight for the title but doesn't want to compromise his friendship with his fellow teammate,
Yeah.
And then also another good fight for if Merab wins that, I mean, that's another good name on the resume. If Aljamain is to fight Sean and beat Sean and does make that move to 145, a very transition into the title, potentially. I mean, obviously, I think that's a very good option. For the Aljamain fight, obviously Sean is definitely the option. I feel like there's no bigger fight to make at that weight class right now. With Sean's star power, his kind of following, and his persona. I mean, who else would you want to main event with Aljamain? Big fight there. A very without a doubt, and obviously for the title, the biggest fight of Sean's career.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in a way, this could make or break Sean's career. Obviously, that sounds a bit intense. It's definitely not how I'm trying to say, but this is his moment. Can he, whenever this fight does get to when it does happen, can he take advantage of it? And can he, because I feel like a lot of people have underestimated Aljamain when it comes to opponents. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, dude, I mean, you said earlier that you don't think Aljamain is that much better than the rest of the division. Like, he's not. But these guys keep on underestimating him. I don't know.
That's what it is, right? More than anything, that's what it is.
Yeah, because I think if Henry Cejudo, this is a fight that was winnable for Henry Cejudo, but I don't know if he underestimated him or, I'm assuming that's what it was, because all these guys, they keep on thinking they're just going to walk through Aljamain Sterling, and then they get in there with them, and they can't do anything with him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think the big question is Sean going to be that guy? You know, is Sean going to be the guy who can break through that? I don't know. Obviously, we don't want to give any specific breakdowns yet because we like to try to save that for the week of, kind of to give our full input, our full thoughts, our full picks. Obviously, at this time, I'm not gonna give any guaranteed answer. I have a thought, I have a pick in my head now, but I mean that's a very important fight, and for the division too, and for the UFC. You know, not to be disparate to Aljamain, but I think the UFC would be very happy if Sean won that fight.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think it was clear that they don't want Aljamain as champion whenever they came back and they brought Cejudo back. Because I understand there's a lot of newer fans. It's something I feel if I try to update people, I'm just trying to be nice. Some people may not always be aware. But whenever Cejudo left in 2020, he wasn't well liked by Dana White in the UFC. They were actually pissed off at him for leaving because he just won the belt and then he was vacating it, and they knew that he was going to come back because he just wanted more money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess who they brought back whenever they had somebody they disliked more as champion? Cejudo, you know?
Right.
And on paper, Cejudo should have been a really bad stylistic matchup for Aljamain, but he won. So I know the UFC's probably hoping that Sean O'Malley's going to win. I've seen a lot of people saying that Sean O'Malley would just get wrecked by Aljamain. I don't know if we can say that.
He's already surprised us. He's already surprised us with Piotr. I think a lot of people thought that Piotr. Yeah. There was a lot of because like a lot of fighters, like a lot of specific fighters, Sean has a lot of haters, just like he has a lot of fans.
Yeah,
there's a lot of Sean haters, and a lot of people who dislike Sean didn't think he would beat Piotr. And granted, it was a close fight. See what you want. I scored it for Sean. And the thing is, it's like he's already proven you guys wrong once. Is he gonna do it again? You know? I feel like that's his whole thing right now. Look, I said it earlier. I said this fight's gonna make or break his career in some ways because it's gonna. Can Sean blow up? Because if Sean is able to win a title here, and with kind of the stardom he has, kind of the fan base he has right now, if Sean O'Malley has champion in front or behind of his name, what are the possibilities, right? And look, 135 is a den of sharks, no matter what. But right now, yeah, Aljamain's held the belt. Look, like I said, there's some asterisk and there's some situational stuff out of control, right? But really, dude, this belt's gonna get bounced around, man. Sooner rather than later, at some point. It's gonna take one guy coming in and mixing it up, and then after that, I feel like it's just gonna be a loop because I just don't know, man. There's always a guy there, you know? That's the thing at 135. There's always a guy there. And we've seen it with Song Yadong, Corey Sandhagen, Piotr Jan. Piotr's coming off these losses, but it's like, you tell me Piotr wouldn't beat the bottom 5 guys of this division, you know? Or he can't.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Sean, you're saying that this makes or breaks his career. I kind of agree, but I don't necessarily agree. I think Sean's going to be a star no matter what, and I think even if he wins the title, he's not going to hold the title long. So I think it's almost irrelevant. You know what I mean? I think as long as he goes out there and he puts on a performance that people are like, oh shit, Sean O'Malley is for real. Which he kind of already did against Piotr, but if he goes in there and puts on a respectable performance, people are like, oh shit, yeah, this kid's for real. He's going to be here for the long haul. We have to get used to it. I think even if he just does that, he's going to explode in popularity again. Or, keep on building on what he already has.
True, but for the blow-up, though, Josh, I mean, we're talking the real blow-up, that title win has to be there, man.
Yeah, definitely. It could be.
I mean, if I'll put it like this, Josh, there's stars and there's superstars.
Yeah.
Sean's a star right now. Can Sean O'Malley become a superstar after that fight? That's the real question.
Yeah, fair enough, man. I mean, we'll see. I do think we should move on to the co-main event because we're talking about Aljamain Sterling always not being really taken seriously for whatever reason. Yeah, we got also Bilal Muhammad, who just for whatever reason, these guys are two peas in a pod, man. People hate these motherfuckers. They just do. I don't know what it is. I think, they just do. Because Bilal Muhammad, who is going on 12 or 13 fights unbeaten. I mean, his resume is ridiculous at this point. And he goes out there and beats Gilbert Burns by unanimous decision. We know that Gilbert got hurt. I don't know if the round was revealed, but it was relatively early, somewhere between rounds 1 and 3. But he hurt his shoulder, ends up, losing by unanimous decision. Bilal Muhammad's going to get a title shot next. Well deserved. I don't think there's too much we can say about this one. It just kind of sucks the way that it went.
No, yeah, man. It sucked because you got, like I told you today, I hated this matchup because I like both guys a lot. And for Gilbert,
we had to do this matchup because we have to know who will be next because Colby Covington has to fight for the title again. We just needed Angel.
And for Gilbert, who's older, who's a little older now, I think he's about to turn 30, going on 37 here soon. I mean, look, he's in a tough spot. He could still potentially get to a title. It'll be tough. But for how good things were looking and having such an active year, and then to get hurt in the first round, I believe they ended up kind of replaying it and finding out they believe it was in the first round from the takedown, and how he landed. He got injured, but after that, man, you could see that Gilbert just once kind of like the injury happened or whatever, you can see he just wasn't the same, and it got even on the broadcast. They were like, "This is the guy who fought Khamzat Chimaev," and something is off because the way he looks right now does not reminisce the guy we saw that night. And yeah, it was very clear. It sucked because we didn't get to see Gilbert at his best fight Bilal Muhammad. And especially for Bilal, he just got put in a shitty position because he's already getting a lot of this hate for Bilal. Remember the unanimous decision Muhammad, and
oh god,
dude, yes, I know. And bam, we get Bilal. Remember the unanimous decision Muhammad against Gilbert Burns, but not at his own fault because Gilbert was hurt. Granted, though, if Gilbert wasn't hurt, then maybe things would have got a little different. Who knows, right? I don't know. There's stuff that you could have controlled there, but hey, man, he's gonna get his opportunity. And I remember I said this. I want to say, what was his last fight? Was Sean Brady before this? Or there's someone in between.
Yeah, he knocked out Sean Brady before this UFC 280.
I was like, for Bilal, he has to be undeniable to get his title shot, and that sucks. And now, he's undeniable of his title shot opportunity, and he's next after Colby Covington. Yes, does he have to wait? It sucks, but he's there. It's been promised. It's done. It took a while, but at least he's got a very nice resume going into that title fight, and if he gets that win, he's in a very good position, and he gets put in some very interesting. I think he'll be put in some very interesting conversations if he's able to get into that title.
I agree. And the thing about Bilal is just, I know that everybody dislikes Bilal Muhammad, and I get it. Sometimes his fights are always most interesting. But there's something that I just appreciate. Like, this is one of the reasons why I love fighting, is seeing guys like Bilal Muhammad, who I did not expect to see in the top 5 or ever fight for a title. Like, you talked about how watching one of his earliest fights against Vicente Luque at UFC 205. I remember when he first came to UFC, he dropped a couple. He wasn't very interesting. He wasn't explosive. He wasn't, he didn't really have any real attributes that make me think, oh, this guy's very interesting. Man. But then here we are. He's in his mid-30s. You don't really see guys making a run at that time, and he's on like a 13-fight unbeaten streak. Like, that's the type of shit that I love seeing in MMA, man. Like, these guys that they're doing things that they probably themselves did not even expect to happen. And that's obviously it sucks for Gilbert Burns, but even him himself, that's another story that's kind of like that. Gilbert wasn't very good at lightweight. Like, he was not even top 15, but then he moves up to welterweight, got a couple of short notice wins, and boom, title shot, top 5 guy, one of the faces of the UFC. And we'll see what happens with Bilal Muhammad, man. I think he deserves a title shot next. I think it's fucking ridiculous the way that he's kind of been dicked around by the UFC. Because just put this in context, right? Like, we're talking about how, like, Gilbert Burns and Bilal Muhammad both deserve a title shot, and And I think that Gilbert did. I think for his recent wins and the fact that he stood up and decided to face Chimaev whenever nobody else would is worth something, even though he lost. But dude, even just on paper, like Bilal Muhammad, 13 fight unbeaten streak. Like look, yeah. I mean, look at the rest of the welterweight division, dude.
Wait,
okay,
what was Charles Oliveira's?
I think 11 or 12.
Damn, dude.
Granted, Bilal has a no contest in there because of the eye poke, but still, 12 wins and 1 no contest.
You're right.
So,
regardless, though, still, that's wild.
I mean, you see who's Kamaru Usman, 2 losses in a row. Colby Covington, 2 and 3 in his last 5. You know, like, we really gotta make sure. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard, man. It's really hard sometimes with the way the UFC's been. It just feels lazy, I guess. But regardless, I mean, I think that's about all we can really talk about the co-main event. Because the co-main event was there's not really much to really say. I mean, it just sucks that that's the way it went. But dude, we're talking about Bilal probably get a title shot. Yan Xiaonan needs a title shot next. I think she deserved one back in 2020 whenever she was riding like a fucking 8 fight and beaten streak. They didn't give it to her. Now she goes out there in an all-time jinx by me. I mean, we jinxed some shit on this show.
It felt kind of nice, Josh. That was a very nice feeling, I'll tell you what. That was the biggest fuck you in the world, though, too.
It was an all-time fucking jinx, dude. I was saying it on the show.
You know, it's funny. Mine was Curtis Blaze, Sergey Pavlovich. Yours was Jessica Andrade, Yan Xiaonan.
But dude, you couldn't have scripted it better, because we were talking about it last week. We were talking about, like, how Andrade's chin is starting to go, and I said almost word for word, I'm like, Andrade's chin is starting to go a little bit, but like Yan Xiaonan does not have a UFC finish. And sure enough, it's just brutal knockout win, like inside of 2 minutes. I mean, what do you say, Angel? Yan Xiaonan versus Weili Zhang in China next. What do you think?
You gotta do it, man. Song Yadong co-main event against some big fighter. I'm telling you, it'll be one of the biggest UFC events of all time. I believe it. They gotta do it. I think it's a complete waste of time if you don't do it now.
I literally don't even know what else. Like, UFC makes some bad decisions. Like, for example, they said they're not going to Mexico this year. But,
even though you could have literally had 3 Mexican fighters on the main card that everybody would have loved to watch. Actually, you could have done 4 if you put fucking Amanda Nunes, Arena Aldana that card too.
Exactly.
And they would have.
They're not doing that. But I hope at the very least they do the China card.
They need to. They have plenty of good Chinese fighters on the roster. I think a lot of people that'll have good fights at that too. Honestly, and then you have 2 highly ranked off the top of my head Chinese fighters as well. And even then, we're talking strictly Chinese fighters, other Asian fighters as well that could be on the card and get a lot of love, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it'd be a complete waste of time if they didn't do it. I really hope they do, man. I think that fight would be incredibly compelling. I think Weili Zhang would win, just to be cards on the table. But I think, the setting, if they can do that fight in China, because, dude, we were talking about that fight happening in China as far back as 2019. You and me have always kind of noticed that Yan Xiaonan is really good and that she'd eventually fight for a title. It's happening a couple of years later than I expected, but
hey, man, we're here for it.
Exactly. If they don't do that card in China, I mean,
you dropped the ball, man.
Complete waste of time.
It has to be, look, I don't know who else would get on it, but it has to be them 2 and then Song Yadong co-main event.
Yeah.
Has to be. It doesn't even matter.
Then, I mean, they've got other people too. They can even do like a road to the UFC thing.
They could, yeah. I mean, they're going to do that this year again. And even then, you could do, like you said, anybody. Obviously, I don't know if the UFC would want to just do a Weili Yan Xiaonan pay-per-view, right? But I feel like they should really push to make that event, no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have to. I mean, I don't know what else they would do, but I mean, in terms of the win, huge win. Huge win by Yan Xiaonan.
Surprised a lot of people, I believe, to be honest with you.
She surprised the shit out of me. I mean, good lord. They did not see that coming in a million years. But, nonetheless, man, next up on the main card, Movsar Iliev and Diego Lopez putting on a fucking show. I mean, Jesus. This kid took this fight on like 4 or 5 days notice, and I mean, he just did not give a fuck. I mean, this is a banger. Ends up being fight of the night. Movsar obviously moves to 17-0 with the win, What'd you think, man?
Look, I mean, no matter what, I was picking Mozart the whole way. Even with the Diego Lopez, late addition.
Mm-hmm.
5 days, man, that's just tough. He's a guy I had my eye on for a few years now. Fighting out of Mexico, a lot in the Lux League. Fighting UFC, mainly a grappling guy. Has done some stuff in combat jiu-jitsu. Has won here, has some losses there. He tried to come on to the Contender Series, did not get the nod there, did not have the greatest showing there. I was a little bit disappointed because I was super hyped up, man. He had this nice little record, and I was impressed with his jiu-jitsu credentials, and I really had a hope for him, and it just didn't end up coming through. He lost to Joe Anderson Brito, and Joe Anderson has done some good stuff, has done well since coming to the UFC. Only lost to Bill Alguillo, but late call for Diego Lopez, and look, he made the best of it by literally fighting his heart out. Having a sick late sub attempt on the leg. I was happy to see Dana give him his fight purse, I believe, or I don't even know if it was a bonus, but he's 28. He's a long time. I hope the UFC brings him back around. I really don't know how good he is, but I'm curious to find out. And look, with 5 days against a guy who's undefeated with this level of talent, he did the best he could. And I think that I'm almost curious to see what he could do with a full fight camp against maybe a little bit lower level competition, someone outside the rankings, and see what he's able to do. Because if he's able to go to get us against this guy who's this good and is undefeated, and look, it didn't look good because of the result, but I think there was good aspects to it because of the circumstances he was under.
Yeah, I mean, that kid basically did everything you could have possibly asked of him. I mean, if you're going against a 16-0 undefeated monster and you're taking the fight on a couple days' notice, I didn't exactly expect that fight to be competitive, but it wasn't even just competitive. I mean, he took a round, it was a fight of the night. I hope they keep that kid around. I hope they give him somebody big next, give him a big fight next.
And Josh, with that being said, he is my highlight fighter of the card.
Oh, he's your highlight. Diego Lopez is your highlight fighter of the card. Fair enough, man.
Yes. There's a lot of, to be honest with you, I believe there's multiple great options on this card. But because of what he did on short notice, and because I already had interest in him before, and he felt a little short, to see him come back, and like I said, not the result we wanted, but do what he did on 5 days. Hey, man, credit to you.
Completely agree. And excited to see what he does in the future, man, but look, I think I got to eat some crow.
Let him know, Josh. Let him know.
Yeah, Angel, I got to eat some crow, man. So I got to admit it. I was really fucking wrong about Crone Gracie, man. Ice Cream Crone, man. I was way off about that kid. I remember watching him back in Ryzen back in 2016 thinking, this kid is a new generation of Gracie. Like, he's young, he's athletic, his grappling is incredible, his striking seems to be competent. He actually has okay-ish takedowns, and he was so young at the time. I remember thinking, if this kid gets to the UFC, keeps on his current trajectory, he's going to be a bad motherfucker. 7 years later, he just spent 15 minutes butt scooting against Charles Jourdain the entire time. Man, I mean, and you know what the worst part about it too is, I changed my pick to beat Charles Jourdain before we, stopped talking about the fight last week, but so we've seen Crone Gracie fight. We saw him fight at Cub Swanson, and he went out there and had a boxing match with him, and he didn't win, but he didn't look terrible either. So we know the kid can strike. So why did he go out there and just butt scoot against Charles Jourdain for 15 minutes? It makes no fucking sense to me, man. I mean, what did you think about Crone Gracie? You think that's it for him in the UFC?
I don't, dude, to talk about his whole, fight week kind of a bit. Did you watch any of the Embedded?
I saw some of it, yeah. Crone Gracie, yeah.
Or any interviews. He just seemed kind of didn't want to be there, kind of had, a shitty attitude. Media kind of was just there. And look, granted, a lot of people don't like doing media. They're not fans of it. But, you know what I mean? There was just this general aura of, not, I'm just here to be here, And I get it. You're about to fight. You're trying to focus, but it was, something was off, man. I think that's the simplest way to put it. I don't know. Did you see that clip of when he's signing the poster and Henry's in the room? And Henry's like, granted though, like Henry knew what he was doing. He was like, hey, is Nate gonna be at the fight? You know? You saw that,
Yeah,
right?
Henry was trying to make small talk with Crone Gracie, and Crone was just like, dude, get the fuck away from me.
and then he left, and he's like, I'm not gonna be there because we fucking
Dude,
awesome.
Crone Gracie had the same attitude that I have whenever I'm going out, like just going out for like on like a Saturday night, you know, I'm just chilling, and then some person comes up for me asking for fucking change, or just some drunk guy will come up, just please get away from me. Like it's just
I don't even know if it was that, bro. He just left. He's like, I'll be back when he's done.
like, yeah, he was so pressed about Henry Cejudo. But I mean, dude, Crone Gracie, I mean, we've always known he's a bit of a weird guy. I mean, ever since the Flat Earth thing came out.
He's a unique person, man. He's like, what, pescatarian, vegan? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think all those Diaz boys are pescatarian or vegan or something. I know Jake Shields is a vegan, which is really funny when you think about it, but.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll talk about Jake Shields later, maybe.
Yeah, you know me. I love talking about Jake Shields, but yeah, man. I mean, I don't have too many thoughts on this one. I think that Crone, that's probably it for his UFC career. If maybe not, maybe they'll give him one more.
Ryan Hall. Give me Ryan Hall versus Crone.
Oh yeah, why didn't they just do that fight?
They should. Well, Ryan, dude, injuries, heartbreaking. Man.
Yeah, I mean Ryan. I read somewhere that he's had 16 surgeries since his last fight.
Yeah, dude, never. You
don't think about it. He's been out for almost 2 years, I think.
What? Wait, since that one fight?
Against Derek Minner.
Has it really been that long again?
Dude, it's been December 11th, 2011. It's been, not 2011, Jesus Christ, 2021. It's been about a year and a half. And he's gone, I believe, upwards of like 16 surgeries since then.
What?
But he's coming back to grappling next month, so he's getting back into it.
Ah, God, still.
Poor Ryan Hall, dude. God damn.
The biggest what if, I think, in some capacities, right?
He's not a what if. I don't think Ryan Hall would have ever been champion, but Ryan Hall would have been like a fun guy that would have been fun to see how far he can go. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. That's why he's a what if. It's not a what if. Like, look, I don't know if I ever thought Ryan Hall was going to be champ. I thought he could have at least presented some issues. Maybe he could have got some big wins against guys you wouldn't have expected.
I mean, the only real time that Ryan Hall let's be honest though, Ryan Hall's resume, I've always said on paper, is like badass as fuck. Like, you know that, like, if you take context out of it, it's not that impressive. Like, he beat Artem Lobov, Gray Maynard, BJ Penn, Darren Elkins, Derek Minner. That's a pretty solid resume for a guy with like 11 fights, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but then you remember, like, oh yeah, Gray Maynard was like 40 and had lost like 3 fights in a row. BJ Penn, you know, God bless him. He was the Lava Shack period of his career, you know.
Granted, though, Josh, I mean, he's still sub BJ Penn, like that.
Yeah, well, whenever that fight got announced, I was actually like, oh, okay, like they're giving BJ a grappler. Like, I don't know how many people know. BJ Penn was, you know, he was well rounded everywhere, but he was originally a grappler. That's why he's nicknamed the Project. I think he got his black belt within 3 years. Also,
he was one of the first, Americans, right? But let's be real. Is Hawaii really part of America? So Hawaii should really be its own country. I'm not saying like that in a disrespectful way.
I see what you're saying.
But Hawaii has really its own culture. But like BJ had like won like some, I don't know if it was like Abu Dhabi or whatever, but he had won some big tournament, like first American to do something like that. Like I'm no completely super uneducated on this right now, but he did something major as the first American at a very young age within jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the thing. Look, man, I think that just to kind of redirect the conversation back real quick, because I just to redirect it back to Crone Gracie, so we can go ahead and actually move on a little bit. But
we didn't talk to anything about Charles Jourdain in this fight either. We need to kind of like get rally.
The reason why is because what do you want to say about Charles Jourdain?
Hey man, look, we just want to give him his credit. It's not necessarily.
No, I know, and I like Charles Jourdain, but I mean,
he did a good job though. Like, you got to
Angel. If you worked on takedown defense, you could have beaten Crone Gracie too.
Josh, maybe with my white belt skills, maybe I could have done something. But I'll tell you what though, on the stand up, I was a red belt against Crone Gracie.
Angel, you're gonna put your boxing training to good use, and you're gonna go out there and bust up Chrome Gracie, man.
Dude, I would have looked like Tyson Fury against Chrome Gracie, dude.
Dude, yeah, I mean, that, I don't know what to say about that. You're right. I wish you gave props to Charles Jourdain. He won. He did what he did, but, that's all I gotta say. Man. I was so wrong about Chrome Gracie, dude. I was so wrong. And there are some fighters that, like, I'll admit to where, like, I was wrong, Because there are some guys that'll just hype up and they don't end up working out.
Who's another one of those guys?
I mean, I hate to say it because I still like her a lot, but Kay Hansen, I think, if she doesn't, I know she's dealing with some injuries and we'll still have to see how her career turns out because she's still pretty young, but I thought when she got signed to the UFC, I was like, yeah, she's going to be there for the long haul. You know what I mean?
She just got signed too young.
She got signed too young and she had a couple of she won her first fight, and then I remember her second fight, she got robbed in the decision. Third fight, she missed weight. Fourth fight, she just lost, It just went downhill so quickly. But she's still young enough to where I could see her turning it around. Chrome Gracie's like 33, I think. So, just a damn shame, dude. What a shame. But, I mean, in terms of the rest of the card, man, I think we should move one down. Normally I'd ask what fight we should talk about, but let's talk about the Steamroller, dude. Matt Steamroller Favola. Ranked Rolla now, goes out there and knocks out Drew Dober. Afterwards, he gets on the mic, calls out Patty the Batty. Is that a fight you want to see next?
Fuck yeah. Look, the reason why is because I remember at the time I said the winner of Bobby Green versus Drew Dober should fight Patty Pimblett. Well, shit. Bobby Green has lost since then. So has Drew Dober. Matt Favola beat Drew Dober. Let's get it. And he's ranked, which for Patty, I mean, hey man, it is going to happen sooner rather than later, at least the opportunity to get ranked. So this is your chance. Matt, look, if we would have picked for this fight, if we would have picked fighter who to win this fight, I definitely would have not picked Matt Favola. I'm going to tell you that right now. Matt Favola is one of those guys that I never looked at and thought, oh man, Matt Favola is going to be ranked. Not because I thought he was a bad fighter or anything. I just never, there's certain guys you see a little bit of something in them. You know what I mean? Muhammad Makayev, Arman Saryukin, there's a little bit of like, okay, there's a future here and I can see, this guy looks like he could be something special, if not at least a ranked fighter, which is very good anyways. And Matt Favola's gotten here. He went from being, fourth fastest knockout in UFC history against Terrence McKinney to a win, two back-to-back wins against undefeated young fighters in Genaro Valdez, and Zaitar. Which those guys, I'm pretty sure, since then have both captured. Well, no, Genaro this is not my bad, but I thought one of them had gone to win since it. Neither Amina Zaitar has not fought since then. My mistake. Regardless, though, and then before that, he had another young guy, Arman Saryukin. He's always gotten these younger, at least in recent times, these younger guys to be put against him. I don't know if they kind of were using him as kind of like, oh well, this guy's a little bit older. Maybe at the time, maybe not with the biggest records. Let's see what he could do against some of these young guys. Let's see let's test him. And then, finally he beat these two young guys and he gets a call up against Drew Dober and he finds a bit of success. For me, I'm just curious to see how far Matt Favola can keep this going. Cause I'm not trying to make fun of the guy or be disrespectful to the guy. I just don't know when you look at all the other male divisions, how high do you put Matt Favola in comparison to those guys as well? You know what I mean?
Yeah, Matt Favola is a guy that I have no idea how good he is. He's 32. I mean, he seems to be hitting his prime, but I remember whenever he had those, he came in, he had the draw with Venati, got knocked out by Marco Polo Reyes. Like, he's really turned things around to a degree that I didn't expect, but I don't know how good he is. That's partially why I'm cool with seeing him versus Patty Pimblett next, because two things. I don't know how good Matt Favola is, and I also don't know how good Patty Pimblett is,
Well, yeah, what are the ceilings?
Exactly. And I saw some people saying, like, if Matt Favola just knocked out Drew Dober, Patty's not ready for him. And to that I say, when will he be ready? Because Patty Pimblett's like 28 now. Like, is he ever going to take a step up? You know what I mean? Like, this is a 14th ranked guy. They're not throwing him to fucking Arman Saryukin. Like, this is a fight that makes sense. So I think Favola versus Pimblett makes sense for next,
But with that also in mind, how would you feel against Favola against anybody else at 155? That's why you You see where I'm coming from, though, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, that's the thing is I don't know. I think his striking could be a problem for a lot of those guys in the top 10 to top 15 range. It's once you get inside the top 10 that I have no idea.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. That's where my kind of like, kind of question marks are coming in because I'm like, this is so odd because I've never really seen a guy in this position like him in my time of watching. At least I feel that way. But look, he's defied. I think he was for some of those fights not the favorite. So it's kind of cool to see these kind of come over, and overcome those people doubting him, or being bet against.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely agree. He's a guy that it's actually just pretty cool to see him kind of continue rising and to continue getting better. Even in his mid-30s, like I mentioned, Bilal Muhammad, Mafrul, another guy. You're never too old to make a big impression. Rest of the card, man. I mean, obviously this one sucked. Our boy Devin Clark coming up short against Kennedy and Jubal. But outside of that one, obviously, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. But what are some of the other fights you want to go and highlight from UFC 288?
Man, Chaos wins Rolando Bedoya. I would have never known, man. Banger of the night.
Yeah.
I believe it got fight of the night. Completely did not see this coming. It was nice to see Chaos, though, because it felt like it had been forever. Fun fight. Not too much to say outside of that. Split decision for Chaos. Verna Janarova, Marina Rodriguez. Man, Verna came in with some fire in the grappling department, man. I thought Marina Rodriguez was to have a better showing. Marina Rodriguez, dude, she was a gal that I was so, man, she's going to get that title shot. She's coming off that Yan Xiaonan win, and then she has to fight him, and then she takes a fight against Amanda Lemos, who I believe at the time Amanda Lemos was coming off her loss of Jessica Andrade. Actually, no, she was coming off her win of Michelle Watterson. My mistake. And puts out Marina Rodriguez in the third round. Oh, man, dude, this one broke my heart because I thought she was right there, man. She's going to get her title shot. For some reason, they didn't give it to her right after the Yan Xiaonan fight. I know it was a split decision, but, man, it sucks to see. And I was just to see how she bounced back, man. Lots of love to Verna. She's also a gal that I've always had some interest in. And she got a nice big win here, man.
Yeah, man, she got a big win there. Very interested to see where she goes. She's somebody who she came to the UFC, and I would say I knew her from Invicta, but she's been, it's interesting to see watch her develop, I guess. Because remember in Invicta, she was so, very basic in terms of, she had her jiu-jitsu, but she had no real, she didn't have too many paths to get the fight to the ground, really, but seeing her improve, and this is a big win here, man. I admittedly, we didn't make picks. I probably honestly would have picked Marina Rodriguez in this one, but,
Same.
Yeah, big win by Verna Jandijarova.
Did she fight Amanda Lemos, though?
Yeah, right. You shout out Chaos Williams, Rolando Bedoya. Banger. Absolute banger. Parker Porter getting a knockout win over Braxton Smith. Dude, Parker Porter needed that one, man.
Yes.
Gets it. Huge win. Huge win. And then we also got to go and talk about, he's a problem. Ikram Asalikirov. He's a fucking problem, okay? We highlighted him. But he went out there and murdered Phil Hawes. So he's even better than I think he's gonna end up being better than we thought. But obviously still early, but that was a huge win.
Yeah. There's a reason we highlighted him last week, Josh. And like I said, I feel like there was multiple options for this week for a highlight fighter postcard. I don't know. Did you give your highlight fighter after now?
If you didn't highlight Ikram, I'm gonna highlight Ikram, dude.
Hey, I highlighted him last week going into the card.
Yeah.
And it showed why. And look, I chose Diego Lopez after the fact because of what he did.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd probably just go ahead and pick Ikram because I wanted him last week too. But you know what? Maybe I'll wait. Actually, I'll wait. There's a guy I want to shout out who didn't even win. Who I want to shout out later on in the show.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, Nani. Yeah, so I'll go and shout him out later. But yeah, man. Any closing thoughts on UFC 288 before we go and move on?
No, man. We kind of talk about the event as a whole, Josh. We kind of talking earlier before this show started about dude, how many pay-per-views buys this thing does? And I said, look, I might sound like a dick, but I said anywhere between 80 to 250.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking too. I believe the lowest UFC card of the modern era, I should say. I know there's like, I'm pretty sure there's like UFC, like some of those early ones didn't sell shit anyway.
Yeah.
But like of the modern era, UFC 224 is the lowest selling with 85,000. So I'd say anywhere between 100 to 300. I think Cejudo has some sort of a sizable fan base, at least among MMA fans. So I wouldn't be surprised if we drew some people in. And then a lot of people like Gilbert right now, so that's another guy.
Mm-hmm.
But the event on the whole was, I mean, I saw some people shitting on this card. I thought this card was fun, you know?
I feel like it had its fights for, like, we're talking strictly pay-per-view. A bit rough, man. You know what I mean? A bit rough. I think this one and the next one will definitely be two of the lower ones for the year.
Yeah. I mean, I think this fight card had some fights that were pretty terrible. Obviously, Charles Jourdain, Carl Gracie, and Bilal Muhammad, Gilbert Burns kind of ending in that fashion, or with the injury, obviously, kind of bringing the fight down. Obviously, played a role. But this fight card was fun. I think it probably did all right on pay-per-view and at the box office. One quick thing we forgot to mention, dude, Aljamain Sterling's from New York, and I have to New York and New Jersey are not the same thing. You know, I have to make that very, very clear before anybody gets on my ass. But like, I'm very well aware of that. But dude, people in New Jersey fucking hated Aljamain Sterling.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, he was like 15. He was like, you know, right by his home state, right by his hometown. They still hated him, dude. Why do you think it is that fans hate him so much?
Dude, people just, like, we've talked about it. Aljamain just is one of those guys who just doesn't get loved.
Yeah.
Just fans have a bone to pick him. They just don't have interest in him, and I think it just comes down to that. I don't think there's much to it, because funny enough, I told you, I forgot when it was. I think it might have been after his going into the TJ fight, how Aljamain had grown a lot on me. I think the big thing is he kind of plays into the heel. I almost wish, and actually it's funny because I was thinking about this, and I was just gonna bring it up. I almost wish Aljamain didn't play into the heel. I wish almost Aljamain was just the nice guy he is. He's genuinely a very nice guy. When I see him, they embedded when he invited Raul to come out and train with him and all that, and it seemed like he gave him some genuine. There was this moment in the video where they kind of take like a still frame of them, just sitting down and talking. You don't have any audio, but it has some commentary of Aljamain just saying that he took some time to talk to the kid, and it just showed kind of like, damn, this guy is a real guy. You know, he really cares about his friends. I mean, it goes to show why him and Rob has such close friendship. And kind of how he has translated that into kind of a guy showing some wisdom into Raul. So yeah, I feel like one of the things is also that he played into the heel, and I almost wish he kept it kind of just himself the whole way, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know, man. People say that I don't think there's an actual reason. I think that there's some people who in the MMA fan base, they just prescribe any notion or anything that they want to that person to have a reason to hate them. I don't think Aljamain Sterling's done anything wrong. People say that it was the DQ, but then he went out there and beat Peter Yan anyway. So like, what's the fucking problem, you know? No, we know. But, I mean, we know the actual reason why, Angel. I mean, we know the actual reason why people hate Aljamain Sterling. We're not going to say it. But we know the actual reason why. But, yeah, I mean, people just hate that guy. I mean, there's just some people that MMA fans just prescribe a certain notion to, you know? I mean, they hate who are some other people who are really well hated, Angel? I mean, they hate Bilal Muhammad. I see Izzy get a lot of hate. Who else? Remember when everybody hated Daniel Cormier too? Is there any ongoing theme here that I think? Jokes aside. Yeah, man, it was a fun fight card. I think it's about time to move on because we got UFC Charlotte going down this Saturday night from the Spectrum Center. Fuck Spectrum in Charlotte, North Carolina. Anybody that's dealt with Spectrum, it instantly comes to mind. Fuck Spectrum. In the main event, we got heavyweights, man.
By the way, Josh, before you start, I will say everybody shits on the Spectrum. I have personally had a great relationship with the Spectrum. But we will not talk about them anymore, though, because this show is not sponsored. It is not getting paid to mention their name.
And they're never going to sponsor us either, because I'd rather shit in my own mouth than take money from Spectrum.
Do not say that, Josh, because I am on the complete opposite end. I would completely shit in your mouth.
I don't care. I'm ruining the deal. I don't give a fuck. Fuck
Josh,
you know how much I spend? You know how much I spend on the internet every single month just for it to go out once every 3 hours?
Dude, I've never had that issue with Spectrum. I want you to know that now.
I've always had. You know what's funny? You know what's funny is my internet's only gotten worse over the last couple of years, but my price keeps on going up. So thanks, Spectrum.
Complete opposite.
Crazy.
My internet got better and the price went down. So you're just getting a shit deal, buddy.
I think I'm just getting a shit deal. I mean, do I got a bundle? Is that what I?
I don't know, dude. They fuck with me.
Anyways, man. Yeah. I mean, if it's going down from the Spectrum Center, regardless, heavyweights, man. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, who we know about. Obviously, he's coming off of a knockout win over Chris Daukaus in December. Lost 2 fights in a row. We know the kind of story with him. He's long been a guy in the top 10, had a couple of main events, had a couple of big wins. Taking on Jailton Almeida, who appears, we have to say appears, he appears to be the real deal. Since debuting on the Contender Series September 2021, he's not made it even to the third round. He's barely been hit, barely been touched. He's doing the old Roy Jones right now. Just dominating the heavyweight division. Biggest challenge of his career thus far. What do you think about this matchup, man?
I love it, man. My thing with Jairzinho, man, ever since that Ngannou loss, it just has not been the same. And look, he's got a win since then. But loss to Saragon there, Sonic Curtis Blades there, loss of Volkov, and pretty high. I mean, and those are like the top 5 fighters there, you know, with Francis in there as well. Wins over Daukaus, Sakai, and Junior Thompson in between. But look, man, if Jailton Almeida is the real deal, he has this done against Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Jairzinho, though, man, if he does want to get the win here, I want to see him open up again, man. I want to see him he needs to throw more. Even in some of his wins, he's kind of waited, and then he does it. He comes out of nowhere, and look, it can work, but you can't always be the nail. You have to be the hammer too, you know. Mm-hmm. And I don't think Jailton Almeida is going to be patient, and because he's too good, man. We've seen it. He has ground capabilities. He's very mobile. He's a lighter heavyweight. He likes to flow, but he's gone and fought at 205 to be active, and he's fought at heavyweight to be active. But cruiserweight division existed. I think he would fight at that rather than heavyweight. I think Jailton Almeida get the win for this one, man. I think he's the real deal. I think he's the next big guy at heavyweight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's the next big guy at heavyweight. I'm expecting him to go out here and honestly just get a big win. I think Jairzinho, you mentioned it. Sometimes he just doesn't throw. I honestly think if Jairzinho Rozenstruik threw more punches, not even a joke, I think he'd be top 5 instead of ranked number 9 like he currently is. Like, just a little bit more activity in giving people because, like, for example, you're able to play that game with Chris Daukaus. You're not able to play that game with Alexander Volkov, you know? Whenever he's walking you down, you gotta give him a reason to not do it. And I don't think he's gonna give Jailton Almeida. I mean, admittedly, I don't even think even if he tried, I don't think he'd give him much of a reason. I think Jailton Almeida is just the real deal. I expect him to go out there and dominate and get a big win, and I'm very excited to see what he does in the future, man. I think they gave him this main event for a reason. The main event was originally supposed to be Anthony Smith, Johnny Walker. That's no longer the case. So there's a reason why, man. And I think Jailton Almeida is that reason. Speaking of Anthony Smith, Johnny Walker, they are the co-main event. Both of these guys coming in here trying to scratch their way to a title shot. Anthony Smith been out of action almost a year since his injury. TKO loss to Magomed Ankalaev last July. Before that, he was riding a 3-fight winning streak. Johnny Walker, on the other hand, riding two wins in a row. Paul Craig, Ion Cutelaba. You know, Johnny Walker looked like he was potentially on his way out of the door, out of the UFC for a minute there. Now he's at number 7 and in a co-main event on ABC, man. What do you think about this fight? I think it's incredibly compelling, very interesting, and, you know, we don't know, but winner could potentially be in line for a title shot depending on how things work out.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. No, I mean, that's kind of what it's looking like a bit. Obviously nothing guaranteed there, but, what a fucking fight, man. Johnny Walker, Anthony Smith, one of the funnest fights that I've never thought about. But as far as the fight itself, I think Anthony Smith is coming off an injury that he had to deal with, had surgery, had been out for decent bit there, almost a year, 2 months out of a year. Was originally scheduled against Jamal Hill, which, who knows, that might have been the next, like, number one contender type position fight. But instead Jamal gets the call up to Brazil, shows up, gets the big dub there. I don't, the thing is with Johnny Walker, man, I just don't know. I don't know if he's actually gonna come back and kind of be what he was hyped up to be, right? And against Anthony Smith, he's coming off this injury, and he did have that tough fight against Glover like a little while back now, and Rock Edge, where he just got kind of dominated in both of those. And the Magomed Ankalaev fight wasn't going bad, but it wasn't going great either, you know? I think he can beat Johnny Walker, though. I think he's going to get Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker's chin has been cracked multiple times, if you've seen it on YouTube and on those highlights on Instagram. Anthony Smith has a slick jiu-jitsu game that doesn't get enough appreciation. So if the fight does enter the ground, I could see Anthony Smith cashing Johnny Walker in a submission. I'm gonna go Anthony Smith for this one, man. I think I'm gonna surprise people. I think a lot of people are probably going Johnny Walker. I believe the betting odds are near even. I checked it. Yep, near even. Just checked it now. So it's a pick'em fight, man. I feel like there's question marks on both ends. It's like Johnny Walker hasn't been caught. Anthony Smith is coming off a injury. So I don't know. I think at this time, obviously, there's no wrong answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, similar page there. I think Ian Smith is more well-rounded. I think that he's going to go out there and get the win. Johnny Walker, for me, I think he's been, ever since, people talk shit on SBG Ireland these days, and they shit on John Kavanagh. I still think ever since he moved over there, he's been more competent. I think he's been cleaner. I think he's been doing things the right way. But I don't think I think it just comes down to, I just think Anthony Smith is a better MMA fighter. I think even if Johnny Walker goes out there and plays it as safe as possible, I think he still wouldn't win. I'm just going to go ahead and take Anthony Smith. I think he's the more well-rounded guy. I also think there's a pep in his step, man. I think Anthony Smith, ever since he got on that 3-fight winning streak, I believe, starting with the win over, I want to say Devin Clark, he's been feeling himself, and I think that he knows that had he beat Magomed Ankalaev, he would have gotten a title shot, and he ended up suffering an injury, so it really wasn't his choice in that one. So I think he's going to go out there and put on a statement win. That's what I think. But as far as the rest of the card goes, man, there's some guys to watch here. There's some big names. What do you think about some of these fights on the prelims?
Man, Josh, I did not expect this fight to be made, but when I saw it, I was like, okay, it's time. D-Rod versus Ian Machado Gary. Ian Gary, I mean, we know what direction this is going, Josh. They clearly want to push him into the rankings very soon. Mm-hmm. D-Rod's not an easy fight. Also, D-Rod's on the older end, when it comes to fighters. He was 36. He's in those prime years where you should be, ranked or highly ranked, chasing the title or be holding the title. And, some unfortunate luck there with the Neil Magny one. Before that, a questionable win over the Leech, but, we won't get into that. Machado Gary looked good in this last fight, man. I mean, he had a little bit of that, a little Conor-esque in him in that fight, reminiscent of that Eddie Alvarez performance, because some of the combinations, and I know you've seen those edits, Josh. You see those edits where they put him and they put Conor, and it flashes back and forth, and they got epic music playing in the background,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love those.
I mean, I'm excited, man. I think this is a great fight. And for Ian Gary, I'm curious to see how he does against a guy who fought some notable names in this division.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of veterans on this card, by the way, kind of looking at it now.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of vets in here. I mean, I think, this is definitely the fight we're going to find out Ian Gary's level. I think he's only 25, so even if he loses this one, he can still get back at some point in time. D-Rod, though, like you mentioned, interesting guy coming off a loss to Neil Magny. Before that, he had a couple of wins, including a controversial one. Let's be honest, terrible decision over the Leech. But yeah, man, I mean, I like both those guys a lot. I'm very interested to see what Ian Gary does. Also, you mentioned a couple of vets. Alex Morono, Tim Means opening up the card. Court McGee. Yeah. I mean, opening the main card. Court McGee and Matt Brown on the prelims, dude. That's an old man delight.
The other fight of the night, potentially.
Yeah, the other fight of the night. I mean, looking at the rest of the fights, man, I gotta be honest. I'm gonna go ahead and give you my fighter to watch. My fighter to watch is actually Pete Rodriguez. That's a name that may be familiar to people because he's only had 2 fights in the UFC, but he's had a couple of high-profile ones, man. He lost to Jack Della Maddalena when he took the fight on short notice, on like a week's notice, and he lost by knockout. He knocked out friend of the show Mike Jackson last October. He's taking on Natan Levy here, down at lightweight. Pete Rodriguez actually doesn't have a big frame. He's only 5'9", but he's fought most of his entire career up at 170. He's moving down to 155, trains out of the MMA lab. He has a lot of big power, and he kind of doesn't really give a fuck if you hit him. So I'm a big fan of those guys, and I'm interested to see what he does in the future, man. Comes out of a good camp, moving down in weight, only 26 years old with a couple of big knockouts already on his resume. Interested to see what he does, man.
It's a tough fight, man. Tom Levy is no joke.
He is not. But sink or swim, man. We're going to find out how good both those guys are.
Mm-hmm. Well, Josh, with that, I guess I should give my highlight fighter going into the week. No other than Auckland's very own Carlos Ulberg, man. He's a guy who, coming to the UFC, did not have a lot of professional MMA fights under his belt. Had a few had a fair amount of kickboxing fights under his belt, and looked good in his first outing. Then on the Contender Series, and then came in and got Kennedy Nzechukwu as his first fight officially in the UFC on a pay-per-view, which is to show kind of the interest they had in him. And he's fought all his fights almost on a pay-per-view. He hasn't fought 2 of them. Stephano Nzechukwu and Igor Portela, which will be this weekend. And that Kennedy one, man, had a lot of output, but he gassed there. Since then, though, we see that he's kind of improved in that. Gotten 2 first-round finishes, so he hasn't been fully tested. He's fighting a guy who has a lot of experience, Igor Portela, Ukrainian, 26 years old, young. Carlos, 32. So, he has a short frame of time, but I think he can maybe get there. Obviously comes out of the kickboxing gym, so we know what that corner can do. And, I'm just curious to see what he can do in this bout, man. And he's a guy who I've always been interested in his career since he came into the UFC back in 2020. And, kind of going forward, where's he going to cap off at and what are his limits? Cause, City Kickboxing has developed a lot of amazing fighters. And you guys already know them. I don't need to mention them to you. But if you want to, Israel Adesanya, Dan Hooker, Kai Kara France, just to name a few.
Yeah, exactly.
Some names you might know.
Yeah, exactly. Some names. Yeah, man. It's a great camp. A lot of good dudes coming out of there. Carlos Ulberg is a monster. He's taking on Ilhor Potieria. I gotta be honest. I'd be I think he's gonna fucking run through Ilhor Potieria. No offense to Ilhor, because obviously you can only fight who's in front of you, but I remember when he fought Shogun, I remember thinking, damn, Shogun is looking way better than he should against a kid who's in his 20s that's like 19-2 or whatever. I think Carlos Ulberg's probably going to smash him, but we'll see, man. We will see. This is a solid card. There's some good names here. Just a couple other quick ones to rattle off. Cody Stamann, Douglas Silva, De Andrade. They put these guys like early on the prelims. It's going to be a banger, Very excited to see one. Not friend of the show, but long time. We're big Chase Sherman guys, We're big Chase Sherman guys. So excited to see what he can go ahead and do out there against Carl Williams. It's a solid card, man. It's not going to blow your hair back, but it is a fair bit of fun.
He's in need of a win, man. By the way, Josh, what do you think his lifetime record is in the UFC? Just take a guess.
Is it like, it's something absurd. It's like 2-10, I think. Or 3-10, 4-10.
It's actually 4-10. That's really good, Josh.
Yeah. I knew that he had a lot of losses, but. Anyway.
It's kind of sad when you look at it, because out of his 11 losses, 10 of those have been in the UFC.
Damn.
If he never fought in the UFC, he would be 16.
Damn, dude.
Well, obviously that's not fully accurate because he's one within the UFC, but
I don't think he probably cares. He's got a check, he's got a steady income,
He comes out to beg, man. I give him credit. He's still doing the damn thing. I'll say this, man. To come out every time and be motivated to fight is just typical.
I completely agree. It is wild to me that I'll give him credit. There's a reason why the UFC keeps him around. He always goes out and bangs,
He is the ultimate DTF fighter.
Chase Sherman, fuck that, Angel. This is our new segment. Our DTF fighter of the week,
You know
down
something?
the fighter of the week.
You know something, Josh? I love this. This should be our other segment of the week. You're not even wrong. This is our thing now.
Our DTF fighter of the week is Chase Sherman. Chase Sherman, look, 4-10 in the UFC, coming off a loss. Look, lost like 5 of his last 6, but god damn it, he comes to bang, dude.
He's active as shit though. He hasn't even been that long since his last fight, and before that, it wasn't that long before that one.
Exactly.
How many? Actually, he fought. Let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times last year. In a calendar year, I mean, it's up there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. I mean, he's very active. He's always, Anyways, man, I think he's our DTF fighter of the week.
I like that, Josh. I never even thought about that. That's good though. Ever since I started saying that on the show, I love it.
Yeah, right. Anyways, man, yeah, that's about all I got to say. But we do have some more combat to talk about this week. In fact, we have a fair bit of stuff to talk about still. We did not preview the fight because, admittedly, I didn't think this one was going to be close. It did not end up being close. Canelo Alvarez defeating John Ryder by unanimous decision. Afterwards, he called out Dimitri Bivol and not David Benavidez, which was disappointing, to say the least. But regardless, Canelo picking up a big win. But Angel, I got to tell you, man. My fighter to watch from last week, I gotta go and praise, is John Ryder. I saw, because we talked about him a bit in the green room, but John Ryder is a guy that did not get enough respect in the build to this fight. And even coming out of it, people are like, is Canelo washed? Is he aging? Would he have knocked out John Ryder earlier? I don't think people know how good John Ryder is. John Ryder has 1 TKO loss, and it was back in May 2015. He got stopped standing on his feet, wasn't even dropped. It was a terrible stoppage against Nick Blackwell. Since then, he's had some losses to guys like Rocky Felding and Callum Smith, which were very close fights, but he's durable as shit, tough as shit. He's, in the words of Jim Ross, he's tougher than a $2 steak, and you saw that on Saturday night, I gotta give him praise, man. I mean, he's a guy that I never expected. For example, I mean, he's just been improving steadily. I mean, back in I'd say post Rocky Felding loss, he's just been improving and quietly. He's been doing it in the background. He even stepped up whenever he fought Callum Smith, and he lost to him. And I remember thinking that was a terrible decision at the time, even as a big Callum guy. But since then, he's racked up some wins. He stopped Zach Parker, got a decision win over Daniel Jacobs. And then when he went in there, and I knew he was going to lose to Canelo Alvarez, and I bet there's a part of him that thought he was going to lose to Canelo Alvarez too, fighting in fucking Guadalajara, Mexico, Canelo's first fight in his home country in over a decade. He was walking into the Lion's Den, and dude, he got his ass kicked, but he was not going to stop moving forward and not stop fighting. And for that reason, he's my fighter of the week. He was also DTF as fuck, Angel.
Dude, no fucking joke though, right?
For real.
He went all 12 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the fight itself, what'd you think, man? I mean, Canelo dominated. So
as a lot of people expected. I mean, it was still a good Canelo performance. I think a lot of people, like you said, though, just didn't know who John Ryder was or what John Ryder's capabilities were. But there was a lot of talk about, is Canelo washed, yada yada, this and that. And I think he even had surgery, right, on his hand or something like that.
He's actually had hand problems since before the Triple G fight.
Yeah,
so the third one last year.
So yeah, that was a whole thing, and I don't know. Regardless, though, the event itself was beautiful. I mean, like I said, I heard it be compared to a Olympic opening ceremony, which I would not disagree with. I mean, the crowd was amazing. Canelo's entrance was beautiful. The whole setting. A day after Cinco de Mayo. I mean, it was a perfect welcome home to Canelo Alvarez. What else would you want? I mean, like I told Josh, you would have thought they resurrected a fighter to fight Canelo Alvarez. Josh said in the green room, he said, dude, it seemed like they resurrected fucking Muhammad Ali just for that night for him, didn't it?
Yeah, for real. They must have brought out this, dude. If you did not know, for example, anytime Canelo fights, I see people on my Snapchat or on Instagram who were watching the fights who they don't know shit about boxing, but dude, I was only wondering, I was just imagining, because I saw some people doing that on Saturday, people who have people from our high school, and I was just did they have any idea that this is just a random mandatory for Canelo? Do they just know that John Ryder won a WBC interim bullshit belt back in like November. Like, this fight's not significant at all, but you would have thought that Canelo was the most famous man alive on that night. You know what I mean?
You would have thought he was fighting for the heavyweight world title, bro. Like, it looked crazy.
He was going to war, you know, and that's kind of one of those things, you know, that's what boxing does well. And whenever there's a big boxing match, they absolutely win out compared to big UFC fights, just because they're more creative, they do more cool shit. But anyways, man, as far as, you know, that's kind of all I got to say about Canelo. But Angel, we got a lot of boxing this week, man. Specifically, we have the boxing match, the card. Misfits X Series 07, or 007. KSI versus Joe Fournier going down on Saturday night from Wembley Arena in London, England. KSI, obviously undefeated as a boxer, coming off a knockout win over FaZe Temper. He is 3-0 since his return last year, all wins by coming by knockout. Joe Fournier, 9-0 with 1 no contest. Former, you know, WBA International Light Heavyweight Champion.
Oh, God, I love these titles, Josh. Yes.
Yeah, I know, right? His last win came against Raycon in April 2021. You know, I mean, we talked a lot about, is this the right fight? Is this, is this that? It's finally here, man. What do you think? What's your excitement level? We saw Jake Paul. He came up short in his challenge against the quote-unquote professional boxer. We'll now see if KSI can do the same. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I told you, this was kind of similar to, I described it more closer to the Ben Askren one just because of the age, you know? But
Yeah.
except that JJ's doing it with a box red and an MMA fighter. Look, if JJ's been active, if JJ's been working on this craft, he's younger, you know, he in theory should potentially be faster, and he's been active recently. Where after than Joe Fournier and Jordan, Joe has been kind of obviously not as active, but I mean, it's his moment, you know. That's the other thing. Can JJ for one rise to the occasion, deal with the pressure, and perform once again? And can he deal with whatever skill set that Joe Fournier is able to present? You know. For me, it's just like, can JJ get it done again? You know, against these other YouTubers, yeah. I think JJ has obviously a great chance, but he's fighting a guy who has actually trained in a while, has a friendship with a professional boxer, and decided to go in there with him and participate. And you know, they had a nice little dance, but obviously it was not going to go good for Joe Fournier. And that showed, right? It showed once again the levels, man. There's levels to this shit. What is the level between Joe Fournier and JJ? I don't know. For me, Joe Fournier hasn't been active, and what I've seen is it's like, yeah, dude, you've done some stuff, but you also fought Raycon, who had never boxed before. At least JJ has some boxing experience. You know, he's punched guys out. He's actually finished guys. So let's see if JJ's able to continue that, what he's been doing. Or is there more improvements? And can he get it done early again? If he doesn't, let's see how much growth he's able to show in 6 rounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I don't necessarily agree with the Ben Askren comparison just because, I mean, Ben Askren,
I'm not saying it's an exact comparison.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I know the point you're making.
It's just like, this is his equivalent of a older, you know, fighter, except that it's not an MMA guy. It just happens to be a box, quote unquote.
Yeah,
boxing guy.
that's just such a gulf. I can't even compare it. You know, I think if anything, it'd be easier to compare fucking Swarms to Ben Askren.
Still, though, you know, I'm saying that's kind of the closest I can give it to. I just don't think it's the same like Tommy.
It's not a 1-to-1 comparison because Tommy Fury is better than Joe Fournier. Yeah.
Oh, do we know that for a fact, though?
I mean, I feel pretty confident about that fact.
You just something. If JJ wins, if Joe Fournier wins, we should totally have Tommy versus Joe Fournier.
Yeah, that fight actually makes a lot of sense. Or Joe Fournier versus Jake Paul, something. Joe's been trying hard to get involved in influencer boxing, and it took a while, but he finally got a big fight, you know?
That's what I was, look, all I'm saying is it's just my thoughts, man. I just think that's what it's hard because it's, like I told you, man, it's always hard in influencer boxing because it's not like a regular fight. So these guys are training. Yeah. To the same extent, they're not competing at the highest level every day, and you're not able to compare high level versus high level. You're competing against guys who have fucking Joe Fournier's last like official real bout that was against someone who had lower experience was fucking Raycon, who Raycon had never fucking boxed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
Josh, I'm doing my best here with what I got to work, you know? I'm having to stretch shit out, you know?
I hear you. No, I'll go ahead, I'll take the lead. Don't worry, Angel. I'll take the lead. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think that this fight, man, I don't know how to feel about it, admittedly. I think Joe Fournier, from what I've seen of him, he looks like he is he took up boxing when he was 30, which is what he did, and presumably, loaded up on steroids, which we know he did. He tested positive for him. He looks about like he's fine, okay? Like he's what I would expect if you gave a rich guy in his 30s unlimited money to start boxing. You'd have Joe Fournier because he's now like 40. And he looks, training footage, he seems a little bit, he leaves his chin wide up in the air, he's very relatively slow, but, he's also more of the more technical boxer, I'd say, of the two, between him and JJ. And JJ keeps his hands very, very low, and it really just only needs to get hit by one really hard one, and then, that's that. I'm going to pick KSI if I have to put a pick out there. I think Joe Fournier could win. I think a lot of people, like, for example, I feel like I'm seeing, I don't know, I feel like I'm having a deja vu with the way people are talking about this, the same way they talked about Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury, where it's like it's not even a question that KSI is going to run him over. I'm like, well, I don't know, man. Maybe Joe Fournier could catch him, But if I had to make a pick, I'd go ahead and pick KSI. As far as the rest of the card goes, man, we got some other big fights on here. Deji versus Swarm, Salt Poppy versus Anthony Taylor. Which fights are you most looking forward to on this pay-per-view card, man?
I think Salt Poppy, man, versus Anthony Pretty Boy Taylor. That's a very validating fight for Salt Poppy. Even though Pretty Boy has had, a decent bit of losses within like the influencer boxing era, but he's gotten a few wins in Conda distance and got a distance against legit boxers like Idris Virgo and Tommy Fury. So, and if Salt Poppy's the one to put out, Pretty Boy Taylor, that's gonna turn some fucking heads.
Salt Poppy's already turning heads, cause, you see guys online, like KSI, Jake Paul, if you see like MMA fighting, you see these other places like report on them, they're like, get these motherfuckers away. But then, it's like Salt Poppy, because Salt Poppy, it's like, you actually see like, okay, this guy, he's not talking shit. He's not saying I can go out there and beat up, Muhammad Ali or whatever Jake Paul's saying this week. But he's actually just going out there. He's just proving himself and actually just getting better, losing weight, and just working on himself. And that's the type of shit I'd love to see, And if he goes out there and puts out Pretty Boy Taylor, that'd be a pretty big statement. It'd be a big statement win. I'm expecting him to win, honestly. But regardless, man. I'm excited for that one. I'm excited for Swarms versus Deji, which is just.
But Josh, tell people what you're really excited for. Quit fucking around.
Come on, man. You know that I'm all about 1,000 pounds in one ring. And what is it? 1,000 pounds in one ring? Yeah. I'm all about that, man. I'm all about
800.
Huh?
800 pounds in one ring, isn't it?
800 pounds in one ring. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm all about it, dude. I saw that they made it to the UK, so it's actually happening. I don't know, like. I will admit, I don't really talk about too much like my own personal stuff, but like, dude, I grew up a big Call of Duty guy. I grew up watching like COD 4 videos, COD World at War videos. Wings of Redemption was one of the first YouTubers that I ever knew of. So now knowing that and then like seeing this whole saga play out, like it's so fucking funny to me that my worlds are colliding. You know what I mean? Like it's just combat sports and PKA. And then Wings of Redemption and online gaming, just all, crossing paths. It's so fucking funny to me. And also Boogie too, because I remember finding Boogie too because of the Francis videos. So, Angel, what do you think? Who do you think is going to
win? Wings of Redemption. I think I bet my house on it.
You'd bet your house on Wings of Redemption. I'd bet my house on Richard Jordan. It's going to be it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun. I hope nobody dies.
God, can you imagine?
I'm really hoping not, you know.
I honestly, on the off chance, I would love to see the world where Boogie wins, because I feel like a lot of people would probably pick, Wings if they know the people well. I feel like most people would probably pick Wings.
Yeah.
But in the off reality though, if Boogie won, I feel like that'd be like a one for the boys, you know?
Dude, honestly, this fight kind of feels, one of the reasons I actually kind of like this fight is it kind of feels like a win for everybody, because they both lost a lot of weight over the last 3 or 4 months they've been training for this thing. Like, I think Wing said he's lost 40 pounds, and I think Boogie's a similar case.
Boogie had already lost a lot of weight before this, though, too, because he was way bigger.
Yeah, Boogie never got up to Wing size. I think Boogie was 700 pounds at one point.
Yeah, he got like weight loss surgery, but he also worked out as much as he could.
Yeah. But, I mean, for that reason, I think this is kind of a win-win for both guys, but, yeah, man, I mean, I think, I'm excited for this. I'm pretty excited to go ahead and see this fight, man. I mean, this fight card, top to bottom, is pretty interesting. They did not take me as the mystery fighter, in case you guys were curious. I'm not the mystery fitter, you know.
Who is the mystery fighter? Who's it gonna be?
I don't know. Somebody's fighting Zuckles, and that's at 175. So I could have made it, but you know.
They don't even have Zuckles listed on here, so at least on the one I'm looking. I wonder who will be. Can you take a random guess who you think it'll be?
I don't even know who Zuckles is, to be completely honest with you.
God, I've heard the name. I am not familiar with their content, if I'm being quite honest. Yeah, I believe they are primarily a streamer, but that's just a guess. I don't know. But mystery put it. What if it was our boy Luis Pineda again?
No,
dude, that'd be
so fucking funny.
Again, Mariachi, it's just like a meme at this point.
God willing, dude. God willing. Could you imagine imagine your Zuckles, right? You're standing there for your first boxing match ever. Probably. I don't know this fucking guy, but he's probably standing there for his first boxing match ever, and all of a sudden you hear this fucking mariachi band, and you're like, oh, fuck.
You know the best part? It's not even Luis Alcaraz Pineda. It's actually Canelo Alvarez. He's coming out with his crown again, same fucking entrance. They're fucking around. It's actually just a hologram, like the Tupac hologram. And then he turns around.
And then Andy Ruiz walks out.
No, he turns around. It's actually Pineda in the ring.
It's so fucking funny. Anyways, man, yeah, that's all I got to say about this card, man. I mean, they got my guy Korn on there, Korn of Twitter fame. He's a funny guy. Excited to see him on there. I mean, they got it's gonna be a fun card, It is. It's gonna be fun, man. We'll see what happens though. I mean, in terms of news, we got a couple more things to talk about. One Fight Night 10, when we did go down over the weekend. It was their U.S. debut out in Colorado on Amazon Prime. Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson getting the win over Adriano Moraes in the main event. However, I feel like
that's why he's the GOAT, Josh. That's why he's the GOAT. Insert that clip now.
Yeah, I mean, he is. Hey, man. I mean, dude, I feel like Adriano Moraes got bigger every fight of the trilogy. Is that just me?
Dude, can I just say, this only made me curious. Like, it just makes me wonder, how would the trilogy have been against Henry Cejudo? It only makes me wonder, man. The trilogy that I never got.
Everybody talks about how, like, they fucked up on the trade of trading Demetrius Johnson for Ben Askren. But they never talk about They never talk about that aspect of it. They never talk about that aspect of it. We literally could have had a trilogy between Cejudo and DJ, and we just didn't get it because they just really needed Ben Askren,
Did they only get Ben Askren out of that, or did they get one other person out of that?
They got Ben Askren. That was it. It was 1-for-1.
Didn't they trade Sage as well?
No, Sage is a free agent. It was just DJ for Ben Askren straight up.
Oh my God, what?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm still happy for DJ because he's finally, like, I don't think DJ would have been appreciated if he had not left the UFC. Yeah. I don't even think it just wouldn't have happened,
Well, it's crazy, dude. It's crazy to think that DJ could still be UFC champion right now. Or could have got the title again, at least at that.
I mean, I think if he would have stayed in the UFC, I think he probably would have beaten Cejudo in the trilogy. Because I think a lot of people forget that DJ had like a laundry list of injuries in that second fight. If I remember correctly, his everything was fucked, like towards ACL, and he's dealing with a couple of injuries in that one. So I think DJ would have stayed around the UFC, probably defended the belt a couple more times. I think he would. I mean, I don't know. I don't even want to think about it because it kind of gets me angry. But regardless, in terms of one's debut in the States, man, what do you think? Top to bottom, I thought they did incredibly well.
They did incredibly well. I mean, great event, great fights, picked the right guys to be there. I mean, who else would you want? I mean, and look, Sage's return, awesome. Fucking heel hook finish. Who could have predicted that, Josh? Even some crazy loss in here, Josh. Roberto Soldic losing his official now, I guess, debut in ONE FC. Completely threw people in shock. KO punch. That was one that definitely shook up the MMA world a little bit right there.
Yeah, man. Definitely surprising because he was a very high-profile signing for ONE Championship. And so far, he has not worked out. I mean, he left KSW on a crazy win streak. Like 8 wins in a row, something along those lines. Defended the title as well multiple times. Won the middleweight title, double champ. And then since then, I mean, he had the no contest, and then he gets knocked out here.
Granted,
I mean, you don't want to call a failed signing 2 fights in, but it's not working out as well as they hoped, I guess.
It's just been rough, man. I mean, the initial automatic groin strike that was terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever saw that, but it was really bad, man. I mean, it's up there with the Jens Pulver one, in my opinion.
It was really bad, yeah.
But look, all their stars did great, man. DJ, Rotang, Mike Musumeci, Stan Fairtex, Sage Northcutt, Unlock Song, Tyra Tolo. I mean, all the other names had very good success, man. And that's exactly, I think, what they wanted to happen. And it made for a really fun card as well. Some people did, there was some issue with kind of like where things were placed because people were like, you just had Stan Fairtex get a liver kick finish, and then you had Mikey Musumeci in a grappling match right after.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, though, Mikey did get the sub, though. So it's kind of like, I don't know. Do you want the grappling match to be your opener, or do you want it not? You know, I get it, right? But either way, I mean, it was followed by 2 good fights afterwards.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, this card, I mean, real quickly, I actually want to go ahead and shout him out. Sage Northcutt, Super Sage. I just got to put it out there before I forget. Holy shit, dude. I mean, if you're going to miss 4 years out of action, a heel hook win in 39 seconds.
He went to it
Holy
quick.
Shit, dude.
I mean, it just looked natural.
Yeah. I mean, I remember whenever I saw people saying, like, I wasn't watching the fight at the time, but I remember seeing people going, oh my god. I'm like, dude, he did not get knocked out again, did he? But no, it ended up being like a perfect, a perfect situation for him to go ahead and get out there, get a big win, take no damage. I mean, I'm very excited to see what's going to go ahead and happen, with his future in ONE Championship in the lightweight division. But I mean, yeah, Stamp Fairtex got a huge win. I'm a big Stamp fan. I think just about everybody is. How can you not love Stamp Fairtex?
Everybody loves Stamp Fairtex.
Huh?
Everybody who watches us show loves Stamp Fairtex.
Absolutely. How can you not love Stamp Fairtex? And Rod Tang picking up a big win. I mean, you had Chatri was I mean, that dude probably lost his voice, bro. I mean, he was out there screaming his head off, man. He was, whenever Dana did the Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather press conferences, Chatri had his own moment where he got to scream in the microphone, and get all red in the face. So good for him, man. Yeah, it was a great card. I don't have too many deep thoughts on it. I'm interested to see when they're going to come back, and hope maybe we'll attend if they come back to Colorado, obviously. But that remains to be seen. But we do have a bit of sad news. Tony Ferguson, dude. Tony Ferguson is, he's lost 5 fights in a row. And, we haven't seen him since September. And he doesn't have a fight booked either. I think most people thought, okay, and they also saw that Tony enrolled in like Harvard. They're like, okay.
What a guy.
He's probably just stepping back from fighting. Maybe even do a quiet retirement. We'll see what happens. And instead, he got a DUI. And it wasn't just a DUI. He rolled and hit 2 other cars. I don't know what to say about this one, man. It's just incredibly depressing.
It's rough, man. We hope, as people who liked watching him fight, that this is not the start of something very sad. Hopefully this is just one mistake. He can come back from it and avoid any more trouble. Because, like you said, he had entered school. It kind of seemed like he was wanted to further his education, maybe get some look forward after fighting, maybe potentially. But yeah, man, this is not what you like to see. And on top of that, he even denied doing the sobriety test when all that shit happened. So, I mean, it's just a terrible look right now, man.
It really is, and this is one of the reasons why whenever if I talk about how fighters are paid, or if you get annoyed about me talk about the business aspect of the sport a lot, this is one of the reasons why. I don't know much about Tony Ferguson's situation, but I hope that Tony Ferguson has enough to actually sustain himself. You know, he's already I hate talking about it. He himself did not like talking about it back in same page, dude. He didn't really talk about it much, but he had a mental break back in 2019, and he was he essentially went fucking crazy. He had a mental breakdown. And now this combined with the losing streak and just I really hope he's okay. I really hope he's all right, man. But I don't know what to say about it. It is what it is. And I really hope he gets the help. And I hope that he has a good support system around him that'll help him get help. But, yeah, man, in terms of last news of the day, UFC 289 has a new main event, Angel. We talked about, it's honestly kind of funny when you think about it. Juliana Pena spent about 6 months just bugging the shit out of Amanda Nunes in the UFC to give her a title shot and to get the trilogy with the Lioness. And then they announced it, and a week and a half later, she broke her rib and has been replaced by Irene Aldana. Terrible luck, man. What do you think about this new main event for UFC 289?
That is just unfortunate, man. What can you say? But look, man, we've already had ELYXR Grasso do it. I didn't really think ELYXR Grasso did it. Look, I don't know if Irene Aldana's going to do it. I wouldn't necessarily pick her to do it, but let's see what she can do. She has a very good support group behind her as far as all the Mexican fighters that are going to be rallying behind her. Because let me tell you this one thing I've noticed, dude. The Mexican fighter community is very tight. Even the really young and up-and-coming fighters. Because I follow 2 gals on Instagram who I have interest in their careers going forward, and they're both still fighting in the really regional scene and have relatively small records. And I've seen them with Grasso, I've seen them with Zell Huber, and I've seen them with other fighters that they've trained out with the gym, and they're always posting stuff for each other, always supporting each other and hanging out, and in pictures with Brandon Moreno as well. But look, if they're gonna be they're rooting for her, and anything they can help to do to support her and to get another Mexican champ this year, I'm sure they'll do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the fact that we can have 4 Mexican champions.
In 1 year.
Fuck? The fuck?
In 1 year, let alone in 1 year. I think that's a big thing too, dude.
Exactly.
That's the crazy part of it.
Yeah, that's by far the craziest part, that it's all going to probably happen within 1 year. Probably happen. We got 3 out of 4. We'll just see if Irene Aldana can pull the upset. I feel bad. In terms of this new fight, I don't really have much to say. I feel bad for Juliana Pena, but it is what it is. I know that they talked about doing this fight anyway. And Amanda Nunes wanted this fight anyway. So, I'm pretty excited to see what happens, man. Any closing thoughts, man, on anything? We did hit 1,000 subscribers this week, so shout out everybody who has been liking, subscribing. We've been receiving massive support over the last couple of months, and we hope to keep that going. And yeah, man. Any closing thoughts, though? Final messages.
Just a lot of love and appreciation for everybody who has come in, who's new. Obviously, seeing the 1,000 subscriber means a lot for us. We've definitely been grinding our asses off now for a few years, and kind of really this year really pushing all the content, trying to improve in all ways, and continue to improve as the year goes on. We have some big ideas going forward, And continue to love and support us. Please like, share, subscribe, do everything you can. Whatever platform you're on, please rate us 5 stars if it's on Spotify, iTunes. I know we never necessarily give a direct shout outs to those platforms. We mention YouTube a lot when it comes to subscribers and likes and views, but definitely we don't forget about you guys on iTunes or Spotify. You guys mean a lot to us as well because we know we get a lot of viewers through there and listeners. As far as all the cards, super excited to come back next week and kind of recap everything. Obviously it's always a little weird after a pay-per-view, man. It kind of feels kind of odd because it's kind of like we go from this high of a pay-per-view with it gets built up. Obviously this one didn't necessarily have the most hype behind it, but it was very big when it came to kind of what potentially could have been aligned with the main event if Henry did win. And I mean, it's still a big moment for Aljamain, not to take that away. Excited to come back next week and obviously recap everything. Cards are early this weekend, so make sure if you're listening to this beforehand, just go look at your time and make sure you have it adjusted. But I think that's all I have to say, man. So I'll let you give it the little outro.
Yeah, thanks, man. We've worked our ass off. A lot of people maybe seeing our clips, and thinking, who are these guys, and I get that. But our show's been around since 2019. Like, we've just been quietly doing it. Like, we haven't really done any advertising. We don't have a big budget. We don't have money to go out and buy Google ads or to fucking pay for Spotify to put us in the you should listen to this podcast category. You know what I mean? We don't have that. Everything that the 1,000 subscribers that we've attained over the last couple of years, which doesn't sound like much, but dude, as a small creator, everybody sees the small creators that blow up. Nobody thinks of the small creators that just grind their asses off. And we've been grinding for the last couple of years, and we're going to keep on doing it. But thank you to everybody who's jumped on over the last couple of months, man. We've grown massively over the last, I'd say since January, we've grown massively. So we appreciate everybody who has subscribed, everybody who's liked, and hope you guys enjoy the content and stick around with us for the long haul. We do appreciate it. I'm at Josh Evanoff on Twitter. He's at Angel_Ortega_01 at Courtside Soundoff for all things relating to the show. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace and butt grease. Mouse click.